Hi.
Hey,
Welcome back.
another chapter.
What chapter are we on?
Like 11? 12?
Thomas, what chapter are we on? We're breaking the fourth wall.
Damn, I
Ooh,
said 11 or 12, so.
we're getting up there. We're getting up there, guys. We're so extra. Just kidding.
We're bougie.
We're bougie as hell.
Books, booze, and bougie. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Sarah.
This is Books, Booze,
And Besties.
Yay!
Yeah. Do you want to do...
Oh, yeah. I'm never going to remember. I'm going to try, though.
While you pull that up, I'll talk about our drink of the week. So, Caitlin and I take turns preparing the drink of the week. This week was mine. And I went down a bit of a rabbit hole to get to the drink of the week. If you've read the book, you know that it's set in Montana. There's, a lot of ranches in the book, that kind of thing. If you haven't, then you know now. So I did some Googling, got on the Googs, if you will, and I started with, like Montana drinks, and Montana's like state drink is just hard whiskey or bourbon. I can't remember. Something way too hard for us. And then
yeah, it was. Sarah was trying to be the bougie one of us this week. It was a valiant effort, though.
Yeah. So when I realized that was not going to work, I thought horses, because there are a lot of horses. And what do you know about horses? If you're in Kentucky, race horses, because we have Kentucky Down Under. I'm just kidding. That's not what it is. But every May we have the derbies, and you know what the staple drink is for the derby? Mint juleps. So all of that to say our drink of the week is mint juleps, and it tastes like ass. So
yuck.
We're one and done.
If you like them, write us and tell us what you like about them, because we did not nail this one.
If you like them, you're probably a distinguished, older, gentle person.
Gentleman.
That smokes cigars in a dimly lit study.
I will take a box wine over this shit any day. Ugh, it was not good. Not good.
It's all for show today, folks.
Yeah, we're just having our drinks here, but that's it. That's all we got. I cannot take a sip of that again. I'll die. All right. So here is the synopsis of The Challenge by Danielle Steel.
What?
I don't know. Okay. Fishtail, Montana is home to Ann and Pip.
Are you good?
It's that one sip of mint julep. Pit Pollock.
Pimp Pollock.
Pimp Pollock. Local royalty, high school sweethearts, and owners of the successful Pollock Ranch. The sprawling foothills of the Beartooth Mountains surround the town, overlooking the Pollock's property and nearby ranch belonging to Bill and Patty Brown. The two couples have known each other since childhood. Their sons, Peter Pollock and Matt Brown, are also the best of friends. When they and two other local kids meet Juliet Marshall, new to town after her parents' a bitter divorce, the five of them are soon inseparable, spending their summer days swimming, horseback riding, hiking, and fishing. But one August afternoon, their latest adventure takes a dangerous turn, and quickly escalates into a battle for survival when they find themselves trapped on Granite Peak. Fear reverberates through the town as their parents grow ever more desperate to hear word that their children have been found. They must place their own trials aside amid a massive search and rescue operation. As they come to lean on one another for support, a media frenzy ensues, heightening tensions and testing some already fragile relationships. In the aftermath of this one fateful event, devastating secrets are revealed, new love appears on the horizon, and families are forced to reconsider what they once held dear. In The Challenge, Danielle Steel deftly weaves a story that is a portrait of courage and striking tale of the bonds of love and family.
I guess my first comment is just gonna be the synopsis made it sound like this book was gonna be like 90% the literal challenge and 10% of what happens after, but it's literally 50-50.
Not even to me, like, it makes you kind of think like the kids are going to be disappeared into the mountains for days, maybe even weeks. And while they're gone, from the synopsis, it sounds like while they're gone, the adults are figuring this stuff out.
Mm-hmm. The kids are literally gone, not even a full 3 days. Spoiler.
Well, if you're listening to this, you're screwed. But, yeah. So, there were way too many characters.
Yeah, let's start with my first discrepancy, because it's literally in the first chapter when it's, telling you about the 4 boys. It talks about Tim Taylor, right?
Right.
He is
Juliet's dad.
No. Tim Taylor is the boy who was born deaf. You're thinking of Tom. Because there's Tim and Tom.
Oh my gosh. See, I'm already messed up.
Pitt and Peter. Matt, Benji. Noel.
Justin,
Juliet, Beth, Harvey, Patty. What's Mr. Brown's name? I don't know. Bill.
Patty.
June.
Did you say Patty?
Yeah, June, Tim's mom. Ted, Tim's dad. Who are we missing?
Juliet's mom.
Beth, yeah.
Oh.
Marlene, Bob, who dies.
Yeah. There were way too many freaking characters in this book.
For it to be as short as it was insane.
Yeah. I couldn't, by the time I was like placing people with names, I was almost done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first discrepancy I have comes from the first chapter when it's the snippet about Tim Taylor, the 4th friend of the boy group, who was born mostly deaf because his mother I can't remember, but she basically had a high fever during pregnancy, right at birth for him, so he was born deaf. Mostly deaf, because he can kind of hear now, and he went through speech therapy, but in the first 3 chapters, it talks about what he wants to do for the rest of his life, and it said that he's going to go to a good school and then come back to Fishtail and be a veterinarian. 3 paragraphs later, it says that Tim wants to grow up and be just like his mom and be a speech therapist. All of that happens in 7 paragraphs. So Yikes. Which is it? Is he going to be a vet or a speech therapist?
We'll never know.
Because it literally goes into detail about him following both paths. So which one is it? Did they just forget to crop out which one she didn't want it to be? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because it made a point to say he was going to go to this specific college and become a vet and come back and do, be a vet for the ranches. And then it's like, no, he was so inspired by his mother and the help that he got with speech that he was going to grow up and be a speech therapist just like his mom.
Oh my gosh. I don't even remember Tim.
Yeah, for Tim to be the 4th member of the group, he's never mentioned.
Right? I mean, I know about Noel, Juliet.
It's mostly Matt, Noel, Juliet,
Peter.
and Peter. And it really just depends on the situation. So it's usually Juliet and Peter, and then they mention Matt when Patty and Bill have their shit going on, and then it mentions Noelle when Marlene has her shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
Tim is only mentioned when Thanksgiving rolls around. And
Christmas. Was he mentioned at Christmas?
I honestly don't remember. I just know because there's one sentence where it talks about he didn't even think about his dad at Christmas this year because after Thanksgiving.
That's right. Because his mom was dating a guy and he was going to be adopted.
Mm-hmm. But he's barely mentioned when they're on the mountain. The only thing he's used for on the mountain is he was a Boy Scout and he can tell them what berries to eat.
Yeah, I remember that.
So for him to be considered a major character, he plays a very minor role.
Yeah. Like, I listened to the Audible version, and it was only 6 hours, and I kept losing attention.
I think...
Like, I would come back, like, 5 minutes later and be like, what?
Yeah, it was hard to keep up with because there were a ton of people, but it's also not just like there were a ton of people, whatever. It's Tim, Tom, Bill, Bob, like, Beth. They're literally all the same name, change one letter.
Yeah, it was really hard to keep up with, and there was no, like, I don't know how it looked in the book, but listening to it, it was like there was no distinct dialogue shift.
Oh, like, between the
someone
characters?
else would just start thinking and talking.
It would have a small break on the page and shift.
Okay.
So, I mean, it made a little bit more sense in the book, but it still took me like half of the book to piece together who was who.
Yeah.
I had a hard time just keeping up with the 4 boys within the first few chapters because it was just back to back to back to back to back. Then they introduced Juliet, and you hear about Justin.
Yeah.
And so...
it was just too many people in a very short amount of book. And I just was so confused throughout about who was who was talking, because it'd be like, you know, Tom's over here saying this, but he's actually talking to Beth, and then all of a sudden it shifts over to Beth, and she's thinking this and saying this, and
there were too many stories for it to be
so short.
Yeah, like if you were gonna have all of these side, happenings in the same book, like there was no main character.
No.
I feel like it needed to focus on maybe Peter and Julia and then had a little bit of side commentary, but it literally would switch in the same chapter and be like, okay, now we're going to talk about these two, and then that just...
There needed to be like a chapter about Tom and the stuff going on with Juliet and Beth, or, there needed to be like a chapter for each family. It didn't need to be like, it was so entwined.
I mean, they honestly could have... The first book could have just been the kids and then them going up on the mountain and coming back, and there could have been a lot more added, and then you could have had a sequel that talked about the adults.
Yeah.
But it was literally like 50% of the book was the kids, and then you get back, and then all the adults have shit going on.
Drama.
But it's literally mostly Tom and Marlene, and then every now and then it'll be like Beth and Harvey, Ann and Pitt, Patty and Bill.
Yeah.
June and Tim literally don't ever get mentioned except for like a sentence here or there.
Yeah. Just to mention Dad not following through.
Yeah. I mean, they act like June's one of the...
They could have been left out completely.
Yeah. They act like Tim's one of the kids group, and June's one of the friends of the parents, but she's never at like the lunches with Patty and Ann and Marlene. Tim never gets mentioned, so you wouldn't even know he's there.
No. Like I said, I completely forgot who he even was.
I mean, they took the time for Beth and Harvey to have a relationship and Tom and Marlene to screw around, but they never once brought in June's boyfriend to meet the group.
No, yeah.
I mean, he literally could have come to, the celebration they had, like the 4th of July celebration.
Yeah.
He could have come to the camping trip before school started back.
Right. I mean, they met for every holiday, and he's never even mentioned until the very end when they're like, he's thinking of adopting Tim. Yeah, them getting lost didn't really seem like, I mean, obviously I would be like, my kid's missing in the mountains, I would be freaking out. But it just, to me in the book, it just wasn't a big deal.
I mean, even, like, obviously I always have the discrepancies I like to call out. Even when Harvey's talking about the plan on the mountain, in one sentence he says, they're going to tire out before we do. And then in the next, like, paragraph, he's like, they're kids. They're going to have a lot more energy. They're going to be moving, and we got to catch up to them.
Yeah.
So, which is it, man?
Are they too fast or too slow?
Figure it out. I don't know. It just felt like the author would write something that she thought was good and then just keep going and write something else she thought was good.
Yeah, she was like, ooh, I have an idea. Ooh, I have an idea. Ooh, I have an idea. Let me just combine all these ideas into one.
Someone must have not proofed this very well, because I don't see how you elaborate about a kid's career and what he wants to pursue as detailed as she did for the same kid twice.
And, you know, Danielle still has a great reputation. Like, she, you know...
I mean, maybe some of her other books are really good. And this one, I mean, like, the plot wasn't bad. Like, it was a good plot. And there was a lot of drama.
Yeah, it was too much drama for 250 pages.
It needed to be 2 books, or it needed to be, like, a 500-page book.
Yeah.
And they needed to introduce other characters slowly. It needed to take time to build up the 4 boys, and then it needed to take time with Tom and Beth and Juliet, and then introduce Juliet. And then the mountain. And then, honestly, if that would have been done slowly and was done right, it could have been 2 books and still been more than 250 pages each.
Yeah, it's just like there's way too... I don't know any book that's really good that's only 250 pages.
It was rushed.
It was super rushed. And you could see things that were going to happen, like Marlene and Tom and Beth and Harvey. You could see things were going to play out certain ways.
The only thing I didn't see coming was Bill being a cheater. You know?
He turned into a total douche at the end.
Well, yeah, because, like, they talk about how great Bill is until literally the chapter where he is caught cheating. And then he's instantly a douchebag. And then Pitt's talking about how, yeah, Bill had mentioned that he was a cheater before, but I didn't believe him. And Patty suspected it before. So, like... either he was a good guy or he wasn't, but up until now, you hadn't said he was a bad guy.
It said, like, you know, they had a few tough years, but overall they would say they were happy.
Yeah, but a few tough years to me doesn't mean my husband's cheating. That means, like, we might have had financial problems, or Benji's a hellion and it took us a lot to get here. Not my husband had multiple affairs and I just ignored it.
Right. Totally agree. That was out of left field. I just, I don't know.
I also hated in that section, too, where Bill, like, he did not think he did anything wrong. He was like, so what? You went through my phone.
Exactly. He was so hard and Scott there.
You went through my phone. That's your fault. And then they talk about, like, how wholesome and pure Anne and Pitt are. And then Pitt's literally like, oh, yeah, Bill's still my best friend. I still go to lunch with him, even if he was a douchebag. And Anne is like, no, I'm taking Patty's side.
Yeah.
So, like, they're a team for 20 plus years until a best friend cheats. And then it's like...
Bill's like trying to... And he was concerned about his money, thinking like she shouldn't get any of it. And they're like, oh, got him. It's an equal rights state or whatever. And like he didn't think she deserved half of his stuff anyway. 16 years of marriage.
And she was a stay-at-home mom taking care of the 2 kids that he apparently didn't want, so...
And she was pregnant.
That must have felt really great for Matt and Benji. I mean, and then the daughter they had, he literally was like, I didn't want her. You wanted her. And then was mad that he didn't get to see her when she was born.
Yeah.
So you didn't want her.
Till she was 3 months old.
Like, leave her alone then.
Yeah.
But
sign your rights away.
the thing that was really weird to me in that chapter, or like when Patty was talking about them being pregnant before we found out Bill was a man whore, is she's like, yeah, I don't know when it happened, and Bill couldn't remember when it happened. That just felt icky to me. What do you mean you don't know when you guys had sex and had a baby? You got pregnant with a baby.
And even though it said somewhere that they had planned it.
Yeah. Like when she's at the lunch with Anne and Marley, and she's like, yeah, I didn't know. Like, we don't know when it happened.
Yeah, and he said, because he says he's like, that you're the one that wanted the baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That just made me feel icky. Like, how do you not know?
Gross. The whole thing with like Marlene and Tom, that went from like 0 to 100.
Which, you know, like everyone mourns differently, and I could definitely see a widow moving on, you know, quickly.
Especially like he's probably been on his deathbed for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, he'd been dying for a year at that point. Like, they knew it was coming. So, like, she'd already had time to mourn and was probably already moving on.
Like, especially, like, you know, he's there, but you're not getting your emotional or physical needs met.
Like, she literally said she was his caretaker for, like, the last 6 months. She had already had time to mourn him. So I get that. I mean, I could see why some people would look at it and think it was insensitive, but also, that's not your life. You did not have to basically care for your husband while he was dying. Like,
yeah, I mean, to be fair, though, like, when you're a caretaker, a mother, you don't feel like a woman. And Tom probably made her feel like a woman.
Well,
since they started banging like rabbits.
Well, and I'm going to talk about that. But first, I do want to point out, I don't think Noelle and Justin would have taken it the way they did if they would have been upfront with them. Marlene asking to wait a year. No, because then your kids are going to feel betrayed anyways, because they're going to know it went on for some time and you kept it from them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Tom and Marlene should have told them way sooner. Also, I don't know about you, but these are two 40-year-old adults. I don't see how you do that 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
Right? He's supposed to be doing work on their house. Like, is he getting paid to have sex with her?
Well, I just don't see. I mean, how do you have the energy for that? No one has the energy to do it like 40 times a week.
Yeah, like all day, every day.
I mean, literally
He basically replaced his 40-hour work week with a 40-hour sexathon.
I mean, literally the first time they have sex, and I think they do it like 3 times, Marlene's like, yeah, my face was chafed. Okay, then why are you still going? Jesus. Yeah. Also, you don't want your kids to catch you, but you're like, let's walk around naked in the kitchen.
I was kind of like, what? That's just asking for something bad to happen.
You think your kids are at school? Cool. What if one of them does come home, like Justin literally did, because he can drive?
Mm-hmm. That would always be in the back of my mind, like, there's the possibility, like, don't leave this room just in case.
Or literally, they should have been doing it at Tom's house the whole time.
But he was supposed to be working. Like, it was the excuse.
But everybody kind of already knew anyways because they saw Tom showing up. I mean, because Beth literally tells Juliet before it comes out, yeah, I'm pretty sure your dad and Marlene are doing stuff. Mm-hmm. June was like, yeah, I saw Tom going there all the time. Like, people knew already.
Yeah.
So, and if you'd just been honest with your kids up front, it wouldn't have been a problem anyways.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe because Justin was an alcoholic at that point already.
Yeah.
And he was angry. But, like, the level that he started just calling his mom a bitch and a whore.
He was literally going to hit his mom.
I know.
They literally did a complete 180 with that child. He went from being a protective kid to wanting to protect his mom and his brother and his dad to the next day an alcoholic, smoking weed, not doing anything. Willing to hit his mother.
Yeah, and just call her terrible names and just treat her like shit. And, like, I get it, you know, boys that age don't recognize, like, the effort and the whatever that she had to put into being a caregiver, basically, versus getting to feel like a woman and, you know, her own person. They don't understand that, but, you know.
Well, it wasn't Justin, though. I mean, because Justin's dad literally told him to take care of his mom while he was dying, like right before he died. And Justin literally took everything his dad did to heart. Mm-hmm. I mean, he protected Noelle since he was a baby over having diabetes. He's literally not going to, like, bury his dad and then instantly be like, okay, I hate my mom.
Yeah.
I'm going to do drugs and alcohol. No.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, he's going to mourn. He's going to have a hard time. But that wasn't the character that they had built up to that point.
Right. And now he's 18 with 2 DUIs. Which was just like, what? What?
Also, I thought it was so stupid when Marlene let him borrow her car. He literally just totaled his car. You know he hasn't stopped drinking and doing drugs. And you're like, okay, here, take my car. And then it literally mentioned it like 3 times in that chapter. That was Marlene's only car. Now she was stranded. That was Marlene's only car. Now she's stranded. Cool. Shouldn't let him take it.
Right. Like, he just got a DUI. Tell him no. Sit his ass at home. And that's that.
Honestly, I think after dealing with her husband slowly dying over the past year, she was just ready to check out.
Yeah. And she probably felt guilt, too, because...
Well, and she'd already said she was relying on Justin way too much. So she probably thought, okay... You know, like, I've done my part. Bob's done, and Justin will take care of Noelle. And maybe she didn't think it, but she
Is
subconsciously.
it Noelle? They said Noel in the audio.
Oh, it's spelled Noelle. I don't know. It's Noel.
Oh.
Well, Noelle, whichever.
I don't know.
Whichever. She had already been relying on Justin to pretty much take care of him. So, like, she was probably checked out. So, she didn't care. She wasn't going to deal with it.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I hated this book. I'm not. It was very wholesome compared to what I normally read. The most weird thing, like the most vulgar thing in this book was at the end when she was reading that text from Bill, or not from Bill to Kitty, where it was like, just come in my mouth. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, it went from 0 to 100 really fast. Like, it was wholesome and pure, and there was nothing, like, sexual or naughty or anything about this book. And then
Tom
Tom and Marlene, even that was a little, like PG. It doesn't get into anything until Justin walks in on them, and the sentence literally says she was coming when he walked in.
And I just want you to know, the audiobook is like an old man reading it, so it literally was like, she was coming. And I was like, I am uncomfortable. It sounds like a grandpa's reading this.
Yeah, I mean, it just went from literally nothing of that nature to that, and then bam, bam, bam. It was Tom and Marlene, getting naughty, and
yes, and then Kitty's having Bill come
Bill literally getting text, and then Patty walks in, and the description is literally Kitty was laying on a table with her legs spread as far apart as she could get them.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, this book just got smutty for no reason.
Yeah, it was like that was also a big switch, but.
And I hated that there was like no epilogue to show like Tom and Marlene.
That was the thing too. This book got me because I don't think there's any kind of sequel, anything like that, and it left on way too many cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Because the deal for Juliet and Beth was that they would give it a year and then decide. Tom and Marlene.
Did they get together or not?
You don't know what happens with Bill and Patty. Like, they're literally in the middle of like a custody / divorce battle. Yeah. And then,
it said like in 3 years she's gonna move, but I'm like,
yeah.
Did they? I mean, there's a whole nother story that could be written in there.
And then, like, you could just talk about, how Beth and Harvey are doing. And you could literally talk about Peter and Juliet now that they're in high school. And then June, I mean, you could even talk about June and her fiance or whatever. Like, do they actually get married? Does Tim actually get adopted?
Yeah.
Does Ted try to come back into their lives when he finds out June fully moved on?
I mean, there could be a whole book for each family.
Yeah.
There could be a whole book about how Ted fights for custody and wants to build that relationship and whatever. And then there could be a whole book about how Peter and Juliet, go become high school sweethearts and get married.
And they mentioned a lot in this book how Anne and Pitt had wanted another baby. Mm-hmm. They could even throw that in there. She finally gets pregnant again.
Yes.
Like, there could just be so many things, and it just ends. That's it. Yeah. 250 pages, a lot of cliffhangers, and no questions answered.
This will probably be our shortest episode because the book was so short.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent book. Like, it had a lot of drama. It had a lot of things that could have gone. I think it was just too rushed.
There was so much potential.
It was rushed.
So much potential. I'm trying to think, like, any other thoughts I had. I mean, I felt like it was a very wholesome story about rebuilding.
Really, the only thing I could really, like, process or go into detail would be Justin. I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen. Really, 2 DUIs and then you get sent to rehab for 6 months. That doesn't usually happen like that.
Right. Like, normally you lose your license.
Well, because the first one happened when he was still a minor, so it wouldn't even show up on his record. It would technically be his first DUI, and he got sent to rehab.
I was really pissed when he told Noel that what happened with Marlene and Tom.
Also, I kind of hated how they did the thing with Noel with his pump.
Like,
that
it was so random.
Was really weird too. Like, no one's ever gonna know. Did he literally try to kill himself, or was it an accident?
Did she get him mental health help? Like,
yeah, that was a weird turn too.
it was so random. It's like she just threw a bunch of stuff at the wall to see what would stick.
Well, and literally everyone around Marlene, like adult-wise, was like, she needs to get a leash on Justin. She needs to get a leash on Justin. And then it just keeps going, and then he gets sent to rehab. So she, never actually did anything to support her son or help him.
No.
She let him destroy his life, basically.
Yeah.
And then was like, okay, I'm moving before you get out of rehab. Good luck.
You can join us when you're done.
I mean, her words were literally like, we're moving now. Justin doesn't get out until June. That's his problem.
Yeah.
And then apparently in 6 months, he was good to go again, which I'm not dogging it. People can go to rehab and 6 months be enough. But if you weren't willing to go, if you did not plan to get sober,
oh, yeah.
6 months is never going to do anything for you.
It never even, I know the first time she mentioned rehab, he said no, and she was like, well, if he doesn't want to, then it's not going to happen. But the second time, I guess he had to legally.
It was either go to jail or go to rehab. But, I mean, as a therapist, as, being around that kind of thing, unless you're ready to, get help, that's not going to do anything for you. You're going to go, get through it, and move on. And it wouldn't have been 6 months. It would have been 90 days.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 6 months in rehab to begin with.
No, it would have been 90 days, and it wouldn't have even happened anyways, because that would have been his first DUI as an adult. He wouldn't have even lost his license. He would have been fined.
Yeah. So, just this, yeah. It had a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
The potential was squandered. Too many characters, too many storylines, not enough closure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if there was a sequel, I wouldn't mind reading it just to see, if a lot of questions were answered.
So, Danielle Steel, this is amenable. Fix it.
Add to it.
Yeah. Right your wrongs. I don't know. I don't know if I have anything else to say.
I mean, that's decent.
For 250 pages, I mean,
I mean, it's going to be a short review.
Yeah, for a short book. I'm not just going to talk to talk.
Well, and the thing is, because there were so many characters and so many plots, you can't go into detail about any of them because there's not detail about any of them.
Right. I feel like we covered.
Level.
Yeah, I feel like we covered.
Everything's surface.
I
mean, we can sit here and be like,
It was weird how Beth was finally like, I'm going to move here.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Or Bob planned out his entire death. Weird.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really nothing. I mean.
Yeah. That was it, guys. That's the review of The Challenge
by
Danielle Steel.
Catch us next chapter, Smuts.
Later.